Guys, I am extremely passionate about what CGA is doing all across this nation.
I became a caddy today for CGA because I wanted to serve and have some time spent with my friends and also pick up a little bit on the game.
I play with a group of guys on Thursdays. There's anywhere from 8 to 16 of us that play. And most aren't believers or are nominal believers. And I did this just to grow a little bit closer to these guys because we don't always play together. We have a good time together, but this is a whole different thing. And as soon as I said the word free to them, and as soon as I said that it's a Glendora Country Club, all of the right things, and it clicked. I didn't even have to sell it to anyone. The bottom line is they were interested in coming. And we've played about 11 to 14 holes right now, and these guys are having a great time.
They are learning what servanthood is all about, and hopefully tonight through a message at dinner and so on and so forth, they take the servanthood that I'm showing them to the next level, and they understand what being a servant and following Christ is really all about.
One of the things that excites me about having an invitational golf tournament at our church is watching these guys who have been invited, who maybe don't even realize what's going on today, as they arrive at the golf course and as they begin to experience what grace really looks like. To see the change in their demeanor as they begin to experience people who are serving them, people who are giving them gifts and providing them all the things that they need for their day on the course. It's just an amazing thing to see the way they respond when they begin to experience grace. And for most of them, they don't even realize that's what they're experiencing. And so what we're trying to do here is to partner up with Challenge Golf to see if we can't reach, in a very relevant and cultural way, a group of folks that maybe wouldn't ordinarily, maybe they wouldn't come to our church, but they would come to play golf.
We're told to go and make disciples of all nations. And the means of sharing the gospel doesn't change either. It is the power of the Holy Spirit in the life of the believer to move those who are far from God to come near. But the strategy of the church throughout every generation needs to evolve, needs to change. And I believe, in fact, that God inspires men, great men and women of God, to come up with great new strategies to reach the people of his or her generation with the good news of Jesus Christ. Man, it is so good to have an outlet like golf. And I learned the golf from, and some of you know this story, but I didn't pick up a golf club till I was 23 years old. And then Tim Price taught me the game. That's Nicky Price's older brother. And I was in Africa doing work, went over to do basketball work. I was a basketball player in college, and I went over to work with an organization teaching the game in the southern part of Africa. And I met Tim Price there, and he said, man, let me teach you the game of golf. So at 23, I picked up my first club, and I was breaking 80 within about 2.5 years. And it was because of him. He was a fabulous teacher, done teaching with David Ledbetter, unbelievable teacher. And he and I remained very good friends for as long as he was alive. He actually died 2 years ago. And he was 61 years old doing a golf commentary for South African Open. And just as he was on air doing the commentary, he had a headache, and within literally a couple hours, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor and was gone so fast. And that was really a devastating time for me, because my connection with Africa was also related to my connection with Tim Price. We had become such good friends, and I could call him or get some message to him when I was struggling with my golf swing, and he would send me back he said, check this, or look, film yourself and check that, and it was always right. The guy was just brilliant. And if you got a good coach like that, just checking on you all the time, your golf just gets better and better. And I've noticed a decline in my game already. I don't have that guy that I can go to anymore. And that was a tough time, but he taught me to love the game. And he taught me the history of the game. So I've loved golf ever since. It is my outlet. And I've also, because of my position and the ministries that I've been associated with, I've also gotten to play golf with some pretty good golfers. We've got some photos, some slides over here. Some of you guys won't be able to see them, but here's the first golfer I want you to see. Here's a guy named Payne Stewart. I never played golf with Payne Stewart, but I think most of you can remember where you were when you heard the news that his plane had gone down. Come on, that was one of those big things with golfers. Payne Stewart, I don't know if you know this guy was a strong believer, strong Christian, and he was impacted by this next guy, Paul Azinger. It was Paul Azinger that actually brought Payne Stewart into the Christian faith. And then, of course, Payne Stewart became really bold and courageous in his faith, so much so that when he won the U.S. Open, and I was at Pinehurst, I believe, that he made the comments. Of course, you're not going to hear them in the media, but he talked in the media so much about how the Lord had given him peace during this whole endeavor. Going to the next slide, and then Aaron Badley's a guy that's from Australia. I was in a foursome in Florida when I was doing work in Savannah, Georgia, and I got to ride 18 holes with Aaron Badley, and that's a day I'll never forget. I thought, you got a pro in the cart, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to bother this guy. I bet he gets guys riding with him and playing with these fundraisers or whatever, and I bet they just talk to him the whole time. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to leave him alone. I'm not going to bug him for autographs. Let him play golf, and we'll go on. This guy would not shut up after he found out I was a pastor. I wanted to say, hey man, I want to play some golf here. But when he found out I was a pastor, and especially an apologist, that just means somebody, my journey in my faith has a lot to do with what they call apologetics, which means I didn't really believe the Bible was anything other than just a funny religious book. So I had to go through a long journey of saying, why should I even believe this thing in the first place? And then the whole thing of pain and suffering and evil and harmonizing that with the belief in God. So that was my journey. But anyway, when he found out I was an apologist, he just would not shut up. For 2.5 hours, asked me every question under the sun. And he was a great golfer. I remember we were playing Isleworth. Most of you guys know that's Tiger Woods' home course. We were playing Isleworth, and I noticed I had been driving with him all day, and a couple times out driving him. I was feeling pretty good about myself. Yeah. Then we came to this par 5, and I didn't realize pros hit it about 80-85%, and they only reach back to get it when they need to. And we came to this par 5, and I just belted one out there, and I thought, yeah. And he got up right before he teed off. He winked at me. And his ball just waved bye-bye as it just sailed right over. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. Great golfer. Next slide, just quickly. These are some of the guys. Scott Simpson is another guy that Ron Potter, my friend who's here, introduced me to him. He's from San Diego, and I got to meet him when he was in Savannah and just watch him. He let me watch him for hours. Everybody else had left at the tournament, the Mutual Legends of Golf. He let me watch him hit balls for 2 hours. I just sat there watching the ball come off his club face the same way every time. And this is another guy. All these guys have something in common. So let me stop the slides. There's other guys. Go ahead and just through them quickly. You got Zach Johnson, who's won a Masters. And I could go on and on. There's something all these guys have in common. It's the same thing these guys have in common with each other that they have in common with your caddies. Why would a guy give up a whole day and come out and caddy if you're a golfer especially, you want to be playing. You don't want to be caddying. And my job, as we end this thing, is to tell you why they did it. And it's not for timeshare, and it's not for money. My job is to let you know that they've experienced something in their lives that was free to them. And so the way they express that is to turn around and do something that's free to somebody else. And that's why you got to come today and play in a free tournament with all the free gifts without any expectation. And there truly is no expectation. And as my way of ending, is my way of saying, okay, here's what I want you to know as you leave. And the guys who, and I know when you get a pastor up here, you're afraid he's going to start preaching to you. So what I want to do is illustrate something for you. Here's basically, and I wish I had let me just try to do this here. There are 2 slides I want to show you. For most of us, and I wasn't always a Christian in my life. I grew up in a very nominal home, But as I got older and started, as you meet these guys like the Azingers and the Aaron Badleys and these guys, and I don't know if you knew this, but there's 37% of the PGA Tour players attend Bible study, and 79% of the senior tour attends a weekly Bible study. And they do that because they found something, they discovered something, and I think it's the same thing your caddies would tell you as well. Most of us grow up and we think, here's the way we think, even if we don't have a belief system at all, there's something intrinsic to us that, let's say this is us and this is God, okay? And even if you're not a believer in God, all I ask you to do is just listen just for a few minutes, because this will tell you why your caddies did what they did, all right? So let's say this is you, this is God over here. There's something intrinsically inside all of us that wants to kind of bridge that gap. We know there's a difference between us and God. And no matter who you are, we all know that one day we're going to die, right? The death ratio is still the same. It's never changed. It's 1 per person, right? 1 per person. And there's something inside all of us that we've got those questions of origin, of meaning, of destiny. And we're all trying to find those answers our own way. And especially as you get older, I don't know about you, but as I look in the mirror now, man, things are starting to move south quickly. There's something about us that knows we're all in decay. Come on now. We're all in decay. We're not getting better. And that's just the way it's just the way life goes. It ends. And so a lot of people are trying to figure out, here's your caddies. They've discovered something that they want you to know. And that is, here's us, and here is God, and there is a separation. Now, what causes that separation? You might have your own theory about it. The Christian position is that it's the sin in all of us. Now, let me tell you something I've learned. Just because you go to a church doesn't mean there's no sinners there. I tell people who are perfect, please don't come to our church. You'll ruin it. We're on a roll right now. Everybody's a sinner. And if you're looking for a perfect church, please, whatever you do, don't come to ours, because you won't find it. Anytime you have people, you've got people who are filled with mistake and error. Even if you have your own moral code, if you're honest with yourself, you break it. Come on now. If you don't agree with me, even if the Bible's not your moral code, you say, if I talk to you long enough, you're going to say, I believe you shouldn't do this, and I believe you shouldn't do that, but I guarantee you do them. Everybody breaks their own moral code. And so, for the people who caddied for you today, their belief is that we all break our moral code, and whether it's lying or cheating or whatever, we all have this in our lives. And I tell the people who come to CCV, if you think your pastor doesn't have any of this in his life, well, you're at the wrong church. We all fall short. We all do things we don't want to do, we wish we had never done, but we still do them. Now, the problem is this. There is a gap. Here's how most of us think, and it's how I thought for most of my life. There's a graph, and it's going to appear on that screen over there as well. Here's how we think. I've had this conversation with people numerous times. Let's say this is a graph, and this means 100% good, and this is 0% good. I was on an airplane with a guy once. I love these conversations. I've had these conversations numerous times. Now, stay with me. I promise. It's not going to last much longer. For those of you thinking, oh, my goodness. Just stay with me for a minute. I'll always ask them, and especially if I see them reading some spiritual book of some nature or something, I'll say to them, hey, what are you reading there? And they'll tell me what they're reading. I said, so I'll ask them, because I'm a pastor. I'm supposed to ask you this question. I'll say, hey, do you believe in heaven? And they'll say, yeah, I do. I say, good. I'll say, well, you think you're going? He said, oh, absolutely. And I'll ask them why. Here's what they say. Because I'm good. What everybody says. I'm good. Now, I haven't killed anybody. I haven't committed any moral, sins that would warrant, some bad place. I say, okay. So I draw this scale for them. I say, okay, if this is 100% good, and I want everybody in the room to do this, just do it for fun, humor me. This is 100% good, and this is 0% good. Okay, where would you put yourself on the scale? I have never in my entire life had anybody put themselves below the 50% line. Ever. Why do you think that is? What's your thinking? As long as I have more good than bad, I'm in. So I asked this guy, would you like to put your name where you think you are? This is a guy on the airplane. He wrote his name right here, just about 52%. And I told him, and I can do this truthfully, I said, I actually know Billy Graham, and Billy Graham was once asked this question. And he put his name at 33%. Would you like to change where you placed your name? I want to tell you, he could not grab the pen fast enough. He grabbed that, but guess where he put his name? Just underneath Billy Graham. We're getting down too far in the line now, buddy. I said, well, you know, it's interesting. I also know that Mother Teresa was asked this question, and she put her name around the 23% mark. Would you like to change where you put your name? And he said, he was nervous now. Well, I said, really? You think you got more good in your life than Mother Teresa? He said, well, no, but are you sure she said 23%? I said, I'm positive she said 23%. If you read any of her memoirs, any of her books, you'll know she struggled with this. And he said, well, okay. And he wrote his name just beneath. I mean, it was barely beneath Mother Teresa's. Now, the point I'm making here is that, and I've been in ministry 27 years, and when I ask people this question, you can tell that most people think, as long as I have more good than bad, I'm good. Going to go to heaven. Well, what's the problem with that? What you're saying is God grades on a curve. And most people think, well, as long as I'm better than my neighbor, I'll get in. What's interesting is nobody ever thinks that they're worse than their neighbor. This is called the gospel of moralism, and most people believe it. As long as I have more good in my life than bad, I'm in. The problem is, where's the objective standard? Who made that rule? You did. Why? Because it's incredibly convenient. Because under your rule and your logic, you get in. Let's go on with life. I don't have to worry about it. I'm in. The problem is that for these caddies around the room, this is a dilemma that they came to a point in their lives when they said, I've got to have something more than what is subjective. You know, I've got to have something more than what I feel. I've got to have something that I can hold on to, something that's objective, something that I know I can be sure that I'm on the right path. And what they discovered is the gospel of Jesus Christ, which teaches exactly the opposite of this. What he teaches you is that you can never be good enough on this scale to meet God. Even if you were 99.9% good, it would not be good enough because God is perfect. And that's why, since none of us could meet the standard, that's why God gave us something free. He sent His Son to die on a cross. And that your sins and my sins, past, present, and future, were forgiven. So no matter where you are on this list, that's not what makes you right with God. What makes you right with God is that was there a point in your life when you said, you know what? These pastors, they make me mad, but some of them are right. You know, not all pastors are televangelist guys. Not all pastors are in it for the money. Billy Graham one time was asked, Billy Graham, what do you think about all these TV pastors that tell put your hands on the TV and send us money? And you know what Billy Graham's response was? Now here's a man who's lived a life above reproach. Billy Graham's response was, you know, it's amazing. Thousands and thousands of airplanes take off and land every day without crashing. We never hear about those. We only hear about the ones who go down. And I want to tell you, there are hundreds and thousands of pastors around this country who do a lot of good things. So just because you might hear the news of what the church might be like or what a pastor, please don't lump us all in the same category. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the pastor or the church, how big or small. It's about this very simple message. And what motivates these caddies is they realize, you know what? It's not about how good I am. And the Bible's not a book about how bad people are. It's a book about how good God is. That even though we are the people that we are, and pastors are no different than anybody else, any pastor that tells you they don't struggle with the same sins you do is lying. We all do. And if we're saved by how good we are and we're right with God by how good we are, we're in big trouble. Big trouble. The message of the good news of the gospel that inspired these guys to give you these gifts today is that they know they've received something that was free. And they found Jesus at one point in their lives. And they said, now I know that I am forgiven because of what Jesus did on the cross. And because of what He did, I am right with God. And I can live my life as best I can, knowing that I'm not saved and right with God of my own goodness, but because of what Jesus did. That's what they learned in their life, whether you agree or not. My job is to simply tell you that's what they've come to the knowledge of in their lives. And that motivated them today to say, you know what, I'm going to invite 4 of my buddies and I want to serve them and I want to give them a free gift as a demonstration of the free gift that I've received. And that's what today was about. No requirement from you at all. No card in there somewhere where you're going to put some money in to help CCV. We don't want your money. Okay, we'll take your money, but no. You know I had to say that. It's a good joke. We don't. No, I'm serious though. I'm serious about that. We don't want to end this for money. We simply wanted to. We just wanted to do something that you guys could go home and say, you know what? Maybe there are some good churches around. Maybe there are some churches doing some good stuff, and they really don't want my money. They just want me to enjoy a good time on them. And so there are some people that sponsored this. Your caddy served you because they just wanted you to have a good time and experience a little bit of what is called grace, which is unmerited favor. You didn't do anything today to earn everything that was given to you. It's a gift. Same way they didn't do anything to earn the salvation that they've received to be right with God through Jesus on the cross. That's what today was about. And here's the only thing I'll ask you to do, still no money. The only thing I'll ask you to do is later your caddy is going to give you a little packet, and in that packet's going to be a card. And I just want you to take it. And if any of you ever want to talk to me and if I can help you, I'm available to you. That's all. And when we go out and do the putting, I'm going to be around for a while. And Dane, where's Pastor Dane? Dane's over here, my right-hand man, and he'll be here. And if you guys just say, hey, I heard something I want to hear more about, we're glad to talk about it because there is something special in knowing that you're right with God, not because of how good you are, but because somebody who gave you a free gift.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff Vines and I'm the pastor of Christ Church of the Valley here in just outside of Los Angeles, California. I wanted to have a word especially to the pastors because as pastors we're always looking for new innovative ideas and ways to reach our community with the good news of the gospel. And I don't know about you, but I'm always mindful that the world is changing, that people are changing, and the way we can reach them, sometimes we got to do a little out of the box thinking. And the reason I'm a big supporter of CGA is I'm telling you guys, nothing that I've done as far as a single evangelistic endeavor has been as successful as a CGA golf outing event. And the reason is you bring so many people together at one place at one time to be able to share the good news of the gospel. And the way that the CGA operates, by the end of the day, if you follow the clear directives of the tournament process, by the end of the day, you're going to have about 80 to 100 golfers primed and ready to hear the good news. You know, it's one thing to just present it out on the street just as a passerby, but it's another thing entirely to have an entire event that is geared with grace and love, acceptance, mercy. They feel those things, experiencing them all day. By the time you get to the banquet, and by the time you as the communicator, the time you present the gospel in simplicity, I'm telling you, they'll be ready to hear it. And the fruit of your labor will be, well, extravagant. I really want to encourage you. There's no way you can know everything just by a 60-second promo for CGA. But I'm telling you, if you'll go the next step, visit the website, contact a CGA representative, find out more about these tournaments, because I'm telling you, they are going to sweep the nation and they're going to make a difference in the kingdom of God for the church and for the gospel going out to the world. God bless you.